welcome, and this is the Grassroots Education and Entertainment Network, your number one source of information, education, and entertainment. For honest, responsible, and dependable information, we stand supreme. To stay focused, inspired, and relaxed, choose green.
Ekabo, and welcome to the traditional herbal health discussion. As usual, I'm going to open the show by reading an essay Ifa, and today the essay Ifa is going to be from A.G. Ogbe. The essay Ifa reads, "You woke with happiness, you slept in peace." This was the Ifa cast for Olokoshe. When going to have the hand of Omide in marriage, this Ifa was also the Ifa cast for Omide, who was to be engaged to Olokoshe as wife. They were advised to offer Ebo, and both complied. Now you woke with happiness, and you slept in peace. If the husband did not die young, the wife will be very happy. And if the wife did not die young, the husband will be very happy. Truly, you woke with happiness and slept in peace. Okay, I share, and that is the reading for today. I would now introduce the host of today's show, Dr. Iyauntie, PhD. Hello and welcome back, Doc.
Alafia, how have you been, Baba?
I've been well by Oludumare and Ifa. How have you been?
Ashe, I've been exhausted, but I'm still smiling and I'm still happy.
All right, very important.
Happy to be back on the show.
We are very glad to have you. We've missed you. The viewers, I'm sure they have missed you quite a bit. But we're glad you're back. So you would introduce today's topic and we would go right into it.
All right, so this afternoon I would like us to discuss about burnout. As I repeat all the time, I'm streaming from the friendly island of St. Martin, specifically on the French side, and we are living under the laws and regulation of France, as in Europe, even if we are in the Caribbean. And what's happening as of the 14th of March, which is either today or tomorrow, I really can't remember. I've been that tired. We are finally having a break from the various restrictions that have been enforced over the past 2 years. So we will no longer have to wear our mask in public places and so on, only to travel by plane, by train, etc. So this is great news. Even for children, they no longer have to wear the mask to go to school. It seemed that the last variant really knocked everybody off, and people have developed a greater immunity to the other form of what we have experienced over the past 2 years. So for many, it's a great relief. However, as it is a great relief and everybody have been working on their toes for the past 2 years, many people are experiencing a breakdown. Many people are burnout, but what happens is that people don't always know how to identify the symptoms and the warning sign of a burnout. Usually, it's already too late by the time you realize that you can't function anymore and that you can no longer manage your daily routine. And there are many ways this could manifest in someone's life. Many ways. We speak very often about high blood pressure as it being a silent killer. And very often when we consider a burnout, it is often associated also to elevated blood pressure. Okay, the point is that if you are not a blood pressure sufferer, you would not have the reflex to go and check yourself regularly. Okay, and so by the time something happened, then it can be fatal for some.
Okay.
All right, so a burnout. What's a burnout? So it's a form of exhaustion caused by constantly feeling swamped, meaning like you're feeling overwhelmed, and usually it happens as a result of excessive and prolonged emotional and physical wellness. Because very often we feel like this happens to people who are overworking physically. And if you sit in office, worst. If you don't work outside of your home, maybe you might just work from your home, maybe your work is just taking care of your household, you may feel, or others around you may feel like you do not have a reason to feel burnout. But that's not true, because a burnout is not only a matter of physical exhaustion, but also mental exhaustion. So technically, if you are living in a situation where you are exposed to stress, worry, noise all the time, and you never really get a chance to um, remove yourself from that situation to rejuvenate, what happens is that over time you end up experiencing also a burnout. So many cases it's related to someone's job. Okay, and whenever it's related to your job, I think that's the worst feeling ever, because since you feel emotionally drained, it is difficult to keep up with the demand on the job. And you will realize sometime that you're going to work, but by the time you get there, you don't even feel like going in. Or you get there, you smile, you go in, and then you hit the bathroom almost right away, because you feel unable to connect and you feel unable to keep your usual composure around the people who are working with you. Okay.
Okay.
So when you feel overwhelmed and when you feel emotionally drained, unable to keep up with life demands, if you are under constant stress, if you're feeling helpless, hopeless, and completely exhausted, well, you may be on the road to a burnout. So this afternoon we are going to discuss, various tips that we can adopt into our lifestyle in order to regain balance and to feel positive and hopeful again. So those are very important words, because usually people may mistake chronic stress for a burnout. Usually people will go for a burnout, they don't even feel like waking up anymore. They are highly depressed, but depression and burnout are not the same. Depression is part of a burnout situation, and stress is also part of the overall equation, but you cannot just blame one over the other.
Okay, but yeah, if I could just, the audio that I read spoke about the importance of rest. So
Yes.
sometimes if you experience that condition, is it possible that maybe just taking time away from everything might possibly be one of the solutions to it?
In the best world and the best situation, it would be a solution. However, in real life, very often we just can't take a break. I
Okay.
may think about maybe single mothers, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You can't always take a break. But very often we think about the mothers. Let's think about those fathers who have many responsibilities, especially that in our traditional setting we also often speak about polygamy. If a man have many responsibilities and having a very large family, um, that man may be under serious mental stress all the time to make sure that not just making ends meet, but also always to produce in excess. Because you never know, you always want to provide for the in case, and there's no rest. There's no rest. You have to connect with everybody, so it's not always possible. Burnout also is something that is experienced a lot by entrepreneurs, people who work for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
When you work for somebody and your body can't move anymore, what do? You just calling sick. You go to the doctor, you get a few days home, you get your sick leave, and in the best case scenario, if you live close to a river, you go to the river, you go to the sea, you relax. But
But
when
then,
you work for yourself,
yeah, you
that
don't
means
work, you don't get money. You
you
don't work, you
don't
don't
work,
get money.
you don't get paid, and therefore you don't have no choice but to find a solution to make it happen. Solution to make it happen. Let's take my example. Every time we come here, I speak about this like acidic story of not drinking too much coffee. You see, today I'm drinking tea, I'm not drinking coffee. And as
Okay.
you know, I'm never drinking a regular cup. a regular, cup size of coffee. I'm always in the jumbo size.
Okay.
So people, you would feel tired, but you find ways of overcoming the fatigue. But which is not good. It's not good at all, because if we compare to the engine of a truck, for example, and you realize that the engine is overheating, you have to give the engine a break. You have to let it cool down so that you do not break your vehicle down. However,
Okay.
do we do that in real life? No. Especially when we work for ourselves, it's like, no man, I can't miss that appointment. If I miss that appointment, I might miss the deal. People who work on commission and probably don't work on salaries also experience this time of pressure. And so, and also people who are perfectionists, you are always obsessed in doing everything right, in doing better than everybody else. Usually would expose themselves to prolonged stress and eventually feel overwhelmed until the body just can't move anymore and they can no longer keep that role, that phase that they are accustomed of keeping, in their daily setting. So the negative effect of burnout, they will spill in every area of the life. So even if it is stress that you have from the job, sooner or later, if you do not handle that situation, it's going to impact your home and your social life. For example, you might be just so tired that I don't know, if you're accustomed of going out and have a drink, going out and dance and socialize, a book club, for example, and so on. You feel like you can't go anymore, because that moment where you have to interact with others, and I'm going to use the example of a book club because I used to be part of a book club which I had to give up.
Okay.
And I used to really enjoy, going to my book club readings. But, it's a book club. So meaning we had to read a book. And I would read all manners of books for everything that I do every day. But I had no time to read the book to relax, because you would like, relax, it's not paying any bill. Okay, I'm going to do that later. Let me do something else. So by the time you get to that time, you don't really have anything to exchange. And so therefore, this moment that you would use for socializing, it's almost void. It loses in quality. So you tend to avoid connecting with people. It would happen also to people probably who go to church or have a church family, and you realize that you no longer feel like going to church. Furthermore, especially people who go to church, this constant like stand up, sit down, kneel down, you feel like your body can't cope anymore. So you would still go, but you realize that you're sitting all the time. When people get up and dance, people get up and clap, people get up and greet others, you can't do that anymore because your body just can't keep up. But yet, every time the church open, you get up and you keep on going. And what's going to happen? Sooner or later, your body's not gonna, you won't even be able to go at all. So it is always better to take a break. However, we find all manners of reason to convince ourselves that the world is going to stop turning, stop spinning, stop functioning if we take a break and take care of ourselves. And that's definitely something that we have to learn to overcome. Now, there are many stages of burnout, and from this one, I'm going to read because there are quite a few of them. And so, what happened is that sometimes we have become so accustomed of handling our burnout up to a certain plateau that we take it for granted and we just keep on going. Remember, well, when we had our child a few years ago and the baby was not sleeping at all, we were not getting any sleep. I'm accustomed of getting 2, 3 hours of sleep and I can function. I have done it before, I can do it again. And so we take those things for granted until finally we break the plateau and we end up going through, more and more complicated stages of a burnout. So first stage would be obsession. So we feel obsessed into demonstrating that we can keep up with a pace. We cannot say no. We accept all type of responsibilities. That would happen also with people who are empath. So usually everybody just clog around them to ask for help. Everybody just come and pour all their problem over them. I'm
And
sure
they just
a lot to
dump their
distribute to
problems
you.
right onto you, right? Well, she can handle it. So let me
Yes,
just dump all my problems on her and go as a free person.
exactly, exactly. I've learned a sentence this week. You just say, whoa, this is crazy. Give someone a pat on the back and run because you try your best to avoid people from just dumping all the sadness and the emotion over you, because then what's going to happen to you. You have to also take into consideration that when they pour all this over you, it's just like pouring dirty water in a bowl. It's going to stain the bowl, and you are going to need to empty the dirty water and wash it over. So when I was younger, I could never turn down somebody who needed to cry. I would sit there. Sometimes I would cry with the people. I mean, I was a great, like, if somebody had to pay me to cry somewhere, I was great at that. Once the
No,
emotions.
well, yeah, maybe you're in the wrong profession. Maybe you should have done a counseling degree very early and let people pay you to hear their problems.
Listen, Baba, I work as a guidance counselor for about 15 years in,
Wow.
secondary school, so middle school, as well as senior high school. And in those positions, I didn't have only to deal with everybody's problem in the school, the student, the teachers, the assistant, the admin, but also the parents. And I would come home and I would sit in my vehicle sometime an hour. I could remember a day when my neighbor came out 2 or 3 times, and she took my bags and my books and she told me, come, just lean on my shoulder, let me walk you home. Because she found it unbelievable that I
She
was
noticed. Yeah, she
thinking
noticed.
I was so burnt out. I just couldn't get out the vehicle. But also I used to try my best to leave all this fatigue in the vehicle before going home to my children.
Okay.
Because what happened usually is that you are so tired that you don't want to hear anything. You don't want anybody to talk in your head, whether it is a good news, whether it is a bad news. You don't have any patience, you feel angry. And so then what happened, it's like you end up hurting people feeling around you, people who are caring, people who didn't do anything to you as a
Right.
result of what you have experienced out there on the job. And make it worse, by the time you want to sleep, you're still thinking about all what you try to deal with, because it's only when you get yourself out of the school, for that particular example, that you can start thinking about solution to handle a problem for the next day. So technically, you are always on the burnout. And I used to like helping people to go through that phase of personal development, especially students, when you connect them to the right postgraduate studies and so on. So it's an exciting experience. But I used to ask myself, can I really do that until retirement age?
No,
I
but
used to,
yeah, but then I mean I have a very serious question because when you applied for the job,
Mhm,
they would have given you some sort of spec saying, well, you are responsible for counseling the students, or you're
mhm,
responsible because to me, if you're counseling the students,
mhm,
you're counseling the parents, you're
mhm,
counseling other members of staff.
mhm.
That is too much.
It is too much, and you're getting one salary, one salary,
Okay.
and it was very like, I'm happy that I did it for this amount of years. And usually when they would run short of staff, they would call. But now I've learned to say no, thank you,
Okay.
because it's not worth my sanity, and it's not, and
So wait,
technically
they used to also have you as a substitute teacher also?
also.
Wow.
So it was, I don't know how I used to do it. I used to work with the social workers, I used to work with the school psychologists, and also, attend all those admin meetings. But and I had 4 children, 4 children. So when you leave
Wow.
all that, you got to come and attend to your children. So when I
Wow.
speak about burnout, trust me, I'm talking firsthand of, I know what a burnout feel like. And when finally your body can no longer keep up, it's a terrible thing, because you still gotta technically find a way to manage your responsibilities.
Right,
I'm not
because
just
there are
talking about money.
expectations. There
Exactly.
are
I'm not just talking
expectations.
about money, but I'm talking definitely on your children need you to do their homework, your children need to eat. And sometimes you can't even get up to go and boil water. I'm not talking about seasoning meat or anything. So it's not always possible. And definitely what people do when they experience burnout, like in the first stages of burnout, you tend to work harder. or worse, you end up drinking stimulants so you could stay up. I will never forget when I started to use my first energy boosters. My twins started preschool. They were 3 years old.
Okay.
And I think I took those stimulants until the hurricane knocked us off, I think. So maybe like 3 years.
Wow.
And the first time I took it, of course, I didn't take one. I was like, no, man, that could never be strong enough. Let me take two. And it was a Monday morning, and Tuesday around 3 o'clock, I was praying all what I could pray. Oh, I need to sleep. I can't sleep. I should not have taken two. One is just enough to keep me going. But I quickly realized that after a couple of months, I couldn't get out of bed without taking that pill.
Wow.
And I also realized that it was like a severe addiction. So that's the time when I stopped going to church. And sometimes people will judge and say all manners of things because they don't see you keeping to your routine. But the point is that for me to be able to break away from the addiction, I needed to find some days of the week where I could just do without the pill, meaning I had to stay home. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't drive. I couldn't walk. I was
Yeah, but
too
then I
tired.
think finding your body's natural biorhythm with
Mhm.
sleep and rest being an essential part of it was the most important thing. And if you just needed to rest, maybe that is what you needed to do.
When, Baba?
No, well, at least,
You know?
I want to make it sound like people should maintain
But
their
this is, I
commitment
know,
to church. Because, I mean,
but
it's not like God lives in the church. You could always pray at home.
the point is that the next story is that this is when you have to start realizing that even if you sit at the foot of your bed, if God is gonna meet you there. And it's very difficult also because you would deal with the pressure of people's expectation, especially when you've been a person who also have um, community responsibilities, like you involve, etc. It's not a nice experience. Let's just put it that way, because people tend to judge and blame and try to give you a guilt trip over not being able to keep
But
up.
then, yeah, I want to ask this question. What role do you think that, well, we're going to use the term spirituality because I don't want to use the word religion. Do you think somehow spirituality could play a role in helping regenerate this energy, this lost energy?
Yes, I'm going to in a little. Let's go over the different stages, and we're
Oh,
going to
all
get.
right, okay. All right, okay,
Because
sorry.
indeed, people will tell you, yes, if you do this, if you do that. But the point is that as long as you are doing something because someone is kind of forcing you to take a step to feel better, you're not going to feel better. Because according to your level of degeneration, it's only so much you can do, and you have to accept that even if you used to move at, I don't know, fifth gear, now you can only manage at first and second gear, and that it's okay to drive on first and second gear until you can hit the third gear. And for people
Okay,
who are perfectionists, it's very difficult.
okay,
However, um, this is when this is something I used to repeat to parents a lot. Stop putting pressure on children to be the best in school and to do the honor roll, etc. It's sweet. It's a very nice feeling when your child is the best at everything, but technically we put so much pressure on the children to comply by a rule, to be better than the other, that hey, by the time they fail the first time in their life, the mental breakdown is terrible because they're not accustomed of failing, and they are
okay,
accustomed of being appreciated only when they succeed. However, children need to feel that they could be the worst at everything, that their parents are always going to be there, even if they're upset. And as a mother, I would tell my children, I don't care if you're upset, but I'm going to tell you how it is. I still love you, but I'm going to tell it to you how it is. But a child need to feel that, and not just a child, your spouse as well. Therefore, choose your spouse accordingly. Need to feel that even if they mess up, you still love them because we're human beings. All right. Please don't take my advice as an excuse to do what you want, do what you're not supposed to do, and say, Coach Iyauntie said you're still supposed to love me if I fail. Let's keep that in mind. That's why I say we should choose your spouse, your
Well,
partner,
yeah,
according.
you will always find the abusers. So I mean, it's good that you give that warning right there.
Oh yes, always, always. So what happened when you find yourself always working harder? What happened? Then you start neglecting your needs. Okay, so you don't sleep as well, as we say. I spoke about, the social interaction. All right, and then what happened? Um, Back in the days, all of us ladies used to need to find the time to go to the hairdresser. You had to stretch the hair, put the curlers, fix that in such a way so that you could look like you're perfect on Monday. Or some of us would do it at home, but even if you would do it at home, you would have to do it anyhow. All right. But then guess what? You don't have time anymore. You're too tired. So we're growing locks.
Okay.
And see, we finally realized that even when you have the locks, it still demands time for self care. All right.
Okay.
So then, and I'm not like, I'm just using the locks as a look at me, like I'm always braiding my hair. Many times I thought about locking it, but there are situations that make me like, I live in a French place and discrimination can be real. That's why I didn't lock my hair, for example. Okay. But sometimes we wear wigs, or finally you find someone just chopping everything. And so we say sometimes that whenever you see a woman chop all her hair, she's tired with one stage, she has reached as the limit of one stage, and she needs to start afresh. And also, I know that in spiritual practices, usually when you start over and you cycle, you chop everything. In some spiritual practices, not all. Okay.
Okay.
So it is the same, when people go through through different, like, why can't I find the word? This is a burnout as well, but the word will come back. When people go through chemotherapy,
Okay.
the hair, for example, no longer have the same vitality, so you chop everything and you start again from fresh. So you would realize that you can no longer take care of certain needs, basic need. You can't take care of it anymore. All right. So
Okay.
if you realize someone around you who used to smell sweet, always dress well, and out of the blue they always smell funky, their breath is terrible, don't install them. Try to find out what's causing them to not be able to take care of their basic needs.
Okay.
Okay. And this can save somebody from, losing their mind altogether if you can pay attention to just those first stages. Okay. Displacement of conflict, indeed. We neglect everyone, we neglect everything, and so others are going to complain. And so we enter in conflict with everybody around us. Not that we want to, but listen, those you feel like you can scream at and shout out are the one who are going to pay the price. Whereas you continue, to keep this mask on as much as you can in your daily life, then those who are closer to you are the one who are going to suffer with you. So we speak about people being demanding, people being harder, people feel being aggressive and cynic as well. We spoke about the withdrawal from social life. Um, you would find people um, experiencing a depersonalization. So they don't see themselves as valuable, they feel worthless. So when they speak, they tell you, like, no, I'm not worth it. I'm saying that, and
Okay.
I think I said that to somebody recently. You say, no, I'm not worth it. You can do better. You know, like even somebody would come and offer you a contract. You're like, nah, I don't think I can deliver. Ask this other company. It's not like you can deliver, but you feel like you just can't take on another responsibility. So you can lose money also in those situations. And
Okay.
then ultimately, you end up feeling completely empty. You know, uh, you feel empty. So that's when some people end up using different type of drugs. So somebody, for example, and I see that a lot around our island. I don't know for Trinidad,
Okay,
but
but yeah, which category would that fall in? Depression or low self-esteem, or a combination of both?
I would say more that at that time we fall more into depression. Okay, because low self-esteem is something that's chronic, that somebody just don't feel like they're worth it at all time. But at that particular time, when the chronic fatigue has developed into depression, and to the point where you feel like you're completely worthless, you don't even want to wake up. You feel like there's no hope for things to get any better. You feel like you've tried everything. Um, then things are getting serious. Why? Because people try to find a way to cut themselves from their reality. So
Okay.
some might sleep a lot, some might overdose themselves on sleeping pills. You know, when you wake up, you smile for 5 minutes, you talk for 5 minutes, and when you face your reality, you're like, let me go back and sleep. You know, um, here on the island, because we have so many nationalities, so many people who come from different countries, people like to have fun and party a lot. So
Okay.
there are some people who have a lifestyle of using recreational drugs, cocaine, for example. I am not supporting the use of recreational drugs, but some people have it in their lifestyle. So what happened? Maybe
As a doc, would it be as a coping mechanism?
yes, because some of them they use it to relax at the end, for example, of a long day or on weekends, just to relax their mind, relax their body, and to be able to just feel free and have fun. But when they end up in those depressing stage of a burnout, what do is that as a coping mechanism, as you said, they end up increasing the amount that they are taking, and they are always into using those drugs, but not just drugs, alcohol as well. For some people it might be sex, for some people it might be or any type of activities. People go racing cars. Those youths, they just go and pop their bikes all over the place because it raises their adrenaline and it makes them feel good. But usually this is coping mechanism, because you could find something else to make you feel good. But
But then, yeah, if it becomes too much, it moves from use to abuse.
usually around those times, this is why we're talking about a burnout. A burnout means that your vitality is gone, your flame is just it's like you're close to losing your life, because your body, your mind can no longer function.
Okay.
And we use the word burnout very often in our everyday language without realizing that really, um, at the end of the spectrum, you could lose your life from a burnout.
Okay.
Okay, so technically, what we can say is that it includes total mental and physical collapse. And around those times, you find that some people are even hospitalized in the mental ward,
Wow.
because it's no longer just a matter of uh, uh, the body can no longer cope, is your mind can no longer function. So if your brain can tell your body what to do, then you need help. So now we spoke about it from the mental aspect, but you have to understand also that uh, the body breaks down also in terms of cellular cohesion, meaning that there'll be symptoms on your body also, because the body is no longer functioning. Your mind can give the orders to your cells to tell your cells what they must do. So the first thing you're going to realize, for example, is that you can no longer digest your food properly. So either some people are always after the toilet and they become very, very, very small. Usually it is the other way around. You realize that the food stays on your and the stomach keep growing, 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 growing. So usually you'd find that those people experience constipation and bloating, gas. Like your health just technically just decay, gradually. It's important to really make the difference between stress and burnout, though. The stress is really characterized by over engagement, but by the time you are burnout, you are totally disengaged.
You can't do anything.
You can't do anything. You're not interested. You're in terms of emotion, you blunted. You don't feel for any type of emotional connection. Okay. The urge of stress produces hyperactivity. However, burnout, you are helpless, hopeless. In the case of stress, you find something to give you more energy, but in the case of burnout, you like total loss of motivation. Total loss of motivation. So it's like stress is going to lead to anxiety disorder, but a burnout is going to lead to depression, and actually major depression. Okay, so in the case of a burnout, you feel like life is not worth living anymore. Okay, whereas stress could actually like just raise your blood pressure, and you experience cardiac arrest and so on, and you die. You don't even have time to get to the burnout part. Okay, but overall, if you manage the stress to the point of ending up in a burnout, it's just like the wick of the candle fighting to keep the flame going. Okay, you feel like it's just not worth it to fight anymore. But it is becoming a ever increasing problem, because um, when we went on global lockdown, uh, most people were not accustomed of working from home,
Okay.
and parents were expected to be the teachers, to teach their children from home, be the parent, and also to be the employee and work as if like how could one person do all of this at the same time? And
Wow.
yet you're limited. You cannot go out, you can't go to the beach, you can't go to the river, you cannot gather. We've been suppressing a lot of freedom over the past years, and for many, we had to develop an emotional resilience, because beside that we also had curfew. Yeah, we say couvre-feu. I was going to say couvre-feu, but let me try to speak English and not Franglais. We say the curfew. We also experience curfew. But I don't know if you felt curfew like me, like me. At curfew time, if everybody is driving crazy, all of us are trying to raise the time of the curfew to get home, so we don't be arrested by the police.
No,
And
we had the same problem here.
increasing accident, people are taking risks. Now, this has been quite a moment and quite a chapter, and everybody went through some level of stress. So right now it is definitely the time where we should raise awareness into taking the proper measures to relax the mind and to relax the body. It doesn't mean that we should just go and have fun and do anything. We just need to take it step by step and rebuild ourselves. Okay, and keep in mind that anything else could happen. After this, you can expect anything else. So the warning signs. What would you say is the most important warning sign?
Well, last week I was talking about alternative medicine, but only in relation to mental health. I think one of the major signs that a person would see that would indicate a person is in distress is things like they cut off all communication with everyone. I think that is the major sign of depression and of extreme stress.
Yes, that is true. That is very true. When I was assaulted a few years ago, I can remember that I had my sister, and two of my friends. They would call every day. And sometimes I didn't even want to take the phone, because I knew that they would ask me, "How are you feeling today?" But every part of your body is hurting you every day. So you just don't feel like saying, "My back is hurting me, my neck is hurting me." You just don't answer the phone. They would ring that phone until I pick it up, you know? And that's the way, "Okay, I want to hear your voice. You all right?" It is true that when people no longer want to talk, when they don't make the effort to come and open the door, they don't make the effort to answer the phone, you have to be worried. You have to be worried. And if we would pay attention to those signs a little more, we would find less people dead for 4 or 5 days into their room, and nobody didn't realize over the 4 or 5 days that no one has seen those people. We have to just get ourselves back on track into caring for one another.
But yeah, I think one of the approaches that a person who has a relative or friend or family that
Mhm,
is unwell or might be going through depression, a lot of times I don't think calling is actually the solution. And I would say this:
mhm,
keeping in contact, Doesn't mean calling and asking the same silly question over. Or how you feeling, you know the person unwell. Why would you ask them how they're feeling?
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes it is just being there, or sometimes it's being thoughtful. If you know the person have a difficulty preparing a meal,
Bring
prepare a
food.
meal, pass by, drop it for them, give them
Exactly.
a hug, say, listen, I was thinking about you. So I
Mm-hmm.
say, while I was preparing food, let me prepare a few extra amounts to drop by for you. So I bring some for today and some for tomorrow. And you don't have
Exactly.
to belabor them any further with any more long conversation of anything irrelevant or burdensome.
Yes, that is true. I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. I would like to speak about other stuff. You know, you usually fatigue to feel like you have an adrenal fatigue where you feel like you just can't cope anymore. This should be a warning sign for anyone. Okay, you don't have to tell anybody, but once you realize that you really can't get up, and normally you realize if you're accustomed of waking up for 4 o'clock every day, you realize that every day you can't make it, you fall back asleep. You wake up late all the time. And even when you wake up late, you have those extra hours, you still can't manage your regular routine. So this should be a sign that your body is no longer coping and your body need a rest. But there's also skin imbalances. When your body can no longer cope with your routine, your body cannot function anymore. So first, we tend to drink or eat more. We drink more soda, more drink with caffeine or with sugar to get this rush and to be able to face our routine, to take care of responsibility, the job, whatsoever it is. But then the body can no longer break down the sugars and, digest all those highly processed food. Um, for those probably who end up eating sandwiches, I mean, I don't know, but a Frenchman like a sandwich, bread and everything. But I think the Dutchman as well. You realize
Okay.
that you can't digest anymore. However, you would go to your family physician and they would tell you it's okay to go off once or twice a week.
Wow.
But if you're having, four, let's say 3 sandwiches every day for 7 days, and you go once for the week, unless you sit there for 3 or 4 hours to make sure everything comes out, and we know it does not happen, okay? You have a problem because all of this is staying in your body. Your body cannot cope with it, but your body is too tired to cope with the extra as well. So you would realize at some point that you're gonna start experiencing a skin imbalances. Your skin is going to break out. So it might be anything like eczema rash, it might be like a form of acne, intertrigo as well. So the intertrigo, you realize that you can experience it between your toes. It might be under the armpit, under the breast for the ladies. If you have a heavy belly, you're going to find it in the fold of your skin, and the skin is just going to be very itchy and, have a discoloration, etc. So there are many things that you can start experiencing, but pay attention to your skin. Ladies who wear a lot of makeup, when you realize that something's not right with your skin, the solution is not to cover it with more foundation and more face powder. You have to pay attention to what is the source of your imbalance. Okay, you realize, especially for women, that they start to lose their hair at the edges. So you realize that your edges keep going back further and further and further and further and further. But because you don't want other ladies to laugh at you now, you're just gonna put a lot of glue in front of it and just dash a wig. Is going to make things worse because you're not addressing the source of your imbalance. For men, usually the hair loss start at the center. Okay, but the last time I took my boys to the barber, I was very surprised to see that the barber had a little machine with, I don't know what type of ink or tint, but when he would be finished with the hairstyle, I would see the man just spray, like wherever the hair is gone, he would just spray it so nicely that if you don't know the person
Wow.
doesn't have any hair.
Okay then. Okay.
If you don't know the person has no hair, you wouldn't
Wow.
know. So it's like we have to stop looking for those
Quick
patches.
fixes. Quick fixes.
Fixes, yes. Address the problem at the source, because at the end of the day, the further and the longer you deal with an imbalance, you will break down. And the breakdown may leave you permanently disabled, for example. Okay. Um, let me see what else we didn't speak about. Yeah, so definitely you have to pay attention to your body. You realize that you don't have, if you don't have any energy to force yourself to keep to your routine, your body doesn't have enough energy to process anything that you eat. All right, so we spoke about feeling, having self-doubt, feeling of isolation, emptiness, etc. But usually, technically, you feel very pessimistic about everything. You feel
Okay.
sad. um, at some point, some people just cry all the time,
Hmm.
because they can't help it anymore. Or let's say that if someone is usually a public speaker, they're always out speaking, and out of the blue, you don't hear from them anymore. Then you know that this is not good. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, how do we recover? Let's speak about recovering because we already have 48 minutes. So the first thing is that um, you have to nurture your body. And it is better to willingly take a break from everything than to keep pushing yourself until you cannot cope with anything at all. Because at that time, people sometimes would even have to pick you up and take you for a bath because you won't be able to do it for yourself, you know?
Wow.
So a retreat is highly recommended. And by retreat, usually you try to, subtract yourself from your routine, get out of your home, go and spend some days somewhere else where you don't have to take care of anything and things are being done around you. If you don't have somewhere where you could do that for free, a family member or friend, spend your money. It is better you spend your money to be better. Okay, that you end up not being able to make no money because your body can't cope anymore.
Okay.
All right, so to be exposed to the element, to the sea, to the sun, to the air, it is very important. So you would find a lot of people say you have to exercise, you have to move your body. Do you agree with that, Baba?
Well, yeah, you have to move, but at the same time, I'm thinking you
The
also want
body,
to appreciate the natural environment too at the same time. You want to
it's
gain some fresh oxygen, some sunlight.
true. But the thing about it is that usually by the time you get there, you can't cope.
You can't do anything to
No,
enjoy
people will
anything.
tell you you have to go and run. Listen, if you can actually get up and walk, be grateful, walk. Don't worry about those who can run and skip and do everything else
No,
because
well,
actually the
I would
body
say
can't manage.
the people who telling you run, run from them.
It's true. It's true. It is true. But what happened is that you have to definitely clean the body. That's a must,
Okay.
Um, you have to take a break, but you have to clean the body because you have to rejuvenate the body to give it back an energy to be able to cope mentally and physically. So
So
how do you
cleansing the body, you're saying, is an
cleansing the
important
body?
part of the
So of
process.
course we go back to my favorite word, detox. Detox your body. Just that whenever we say detox, people only think about nutrition, and that's when now we get back to what you asked me about, spiritually. So in the traditionally when you would go to the healers and so on, they would have like different therapies. Well, I think they didn't used to call it therapies back then. They used to well, I can't tell you what they used to call it because I don't speak any African language, but colonizers end up calling all of those therapies rituals. But I don't even think that our ancestors used to call those rituals neither. They were just like what you do to get your body back into harmony. So whenever you feel like you can't cope anymore, you need to take care of your head. So very often you realize that if you wet your hair, you wash your hair more often, you feel good. But you should go further than that. Massage your crown with the right essential oil, like rosemary, for example. If you cannot have access to rosemary essential oil, we have rosemary growing in the Caribbean. Or if you can get it, you go by the Chinese, Indian supermarket, you must find it for sure. Usually it's very affordable. I would say for €1, $1. I'm not sure what's the equivalent in TT.
Okay. But
Okay.
so let me ask this. Now you mentioned rosemary, right? But
Mhm.
are you saying that this has a cleansing effect when used externally on your hair?
But definitely, because no, it's not on the hair, no. for women to put it all the way down to the root is on your crown. Because
Okay.
remember, under the hair, you also have skin, and your skin is alive. It has the cells are alive, so therefore it is absorbed directly at where it needs to be absorbed.
Okay.
So when you drink it, you have to digest it, and it goes to different parts of the body, and not necessarily only where you need it to be used. So that's why it is very important also to go through different detox therapies, I per se. One of it that we have in the tradition is Ibori. I think the Hispanics say Obori. I say there's Ibori, and there's another name I can, Rogación de Cabeza. Okay,
Okay.
where you
Roga.
use different herbs or different essential oil, and you work on your crown. To speak into more um, new age language, you get a crown chakra detox.
Okay.
And in Ayurveda, there are like different therapies as well, where all of them belong to Panchakarma, where you have like a special treatment with oil, warm oil that is poured over the head, to also help to release, all those toxins. Because whenever you feel those headache and so on, is because even your head is so overloaded, okay, and that you have to also take care of the body physically, not just drinking. You really have to go technically and stimulate the body to help moving in the blood, the lymph, to get everything moving again.
So you're saying we have to take internal cleansing, we
Hmm.
have to take external treatment,
Yes.
and the external treatment seem to more affect the spiritual part of things, or would you
The
say the internal also contributes to that bringing that balance of the
It
crown?
is at that point, remember, and that's why we speak about breakdown and vitality. It's like your flame is almost out. Okay, you can't even digest food, So it means that you, with those different detox therapies, you are moving every part of the body. So what is vitiated, what is like, just um
Stagnant.
stagnant in the body, you have to move it. So therefore, you have to touch every part of the body. You detox every single organ. And this cannot be done only for nutrition.
All right. So
It
that's
cannot
why to the person say run, but we ain't saying run. We say some kind of motion, some kind of activity.
Usually, after those therapies, you will be able to walk, to run, to dance, to squat,
Okay. Okay.
because, we're helping the body. Okay. Um, Mothers would know that, when your baby have gripes, we just keep rubbing the stomach in this circular motion, and
Okay.
then we move the leg in every direction. I mean, I had four of them. You just keep moving the legs until you hear this fat come out. You're like, okay, it came out, or they burp.
Okay.
Okay. Or after drinking the either like the breast or the bottle, you tap the back until finally you hear that this gas has been expelled. So you just help the body, and there is nothing demoniac about it, because I know that we have different people from different background watching us. It's really like healing, and it's purely therapeutic.
No, but traditionally, the care that was given to us in childhood,
Hmm.
when we become adults, we neglect to maintain ourselves. We
True.
neglect to give ourselves the care.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate because, I mean, when you're young, your mother has the responsibility of taking care of you. But when
Yeah.
you become an adult, you have the responsibility of taking care of yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. So, and this is what, we should definitely take those moments to give ourselves this privilege. Because if you do it, regularly, if you do it every 3 months at least, take this time for yourself, you will know that you'll have a better term, a better 3 months,
Yeah, we
going
have
forward.
6 more minutes, so I guess
Okay,
you're
so
gonna wrap up.
yes, no problem. So definitely, just like you would have like the treatment for the head, we recommend also that you would have also like, this detox for the heart chakra. It is done usually using herbs and oil. The thing in the Caribbean is that because it is part of our heritage, everybody is an herbalist. Remember that in taking herbs, we also have to respect the acidic balance of the body. So some herbs you should not even take. You should definitely allow someone who have the experience of using herbs to guide you into what you should use. Even if you want to go and look for your own bush, but work with somebody who can guide you so you don't make matters worse. Okay, and yeah, so we say crown chakra, emotional chakra, you have to sweat. So if you cannot physically sweat, that's when you know the different saunas and those different wrap or even massage therapy is highly recommended around that time because it helps to relax as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mentioned that last week.
Okay, all right. And we recommend eating a lot of warm food around that time. And so many people have asked me, but why warm food? You know, you try to avoid eating anything that is dry or light. Why? Because you don't have proper circulation around that time and there's not enough warmth in the body because you are totally depleted. So what's nourishing for the body around that time is to really like eat boiled food, cook food, something that is warm, and make sure you eat it warm. You try to stay away from warm up food. So try to eat fresh every day so that you could give your body the best nutrition. And always remember that you need to eat live food. You know, you give all the over processed food a break for as much as possible. Usually, when you are in that situation, you are full of parasite as well. I mean, to
Wow.
disrespect anybody, because the food and everything else is remaining in the body for too long. I mean, don't take my word for it. You know, cook some macaroni or some pasta and leave it there just a day and a half. Cover it and go back and check it a day and a half later. The scent of it. Tell yourself that if you ate macaroni and cheese day before and you have not gone to the toilet yet, there's a problem. Because just as it smells in the pot, this is how it smells inside of you as well.
Okay.
Okay? So usually they are parasites, so you know it is highly indicated to have a parasite cleanse. Well, our elders used to have enemas. Nobody don't like to feel anything going up their bottom anymore, so we try to go to to get a colonix or whatsoever because we don't want to see anything come out. This and it has to come out. Okay, so you
Okay.
should stop catching feelings over those things. It is better to just go through it and get your body balanced and rejuvenated. Remember that it's not just about taking a pill or drinking something. You gotta clean the body first. It must be clean, and then you
Yes.
start, nourishing and taking your vitamins. That's when we would like to speak about stimulus. Bank on stimulus because yes, things
Okay.
are getting more expensive everywhere. And that's when you may want to either patronize the neighbor who's going to dive for stimulus, or better yet, you go and dive it for yourself. But those are the little food that we don't think about, but it's better to drink stimulus porridge, stimulus shake, however you choose to have than your stimulus than to eat a ramen noodle, for example.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Voila.
All right, Iya. Well, I think we had a great show today,
All
and I would
right.
like to thank all the viewers for joining us and for lending your support. And we would like you to subscribe, like, and share. And we would see you
Next.
next Sunday on the traditional Herbal Health Show with our host, Coach Iyauntie, PhD. Odabo.
So double.